Before jumping into it, I thought I'd read something that reminds us that even though it's 2022, some of the core rights that we value and want to exercise and have over more than 2 centuries have to continue to be robustly defended. And the Fifth Circuit opinion in a case called Villarreal v. City of Laredo reminds us of why. Because the government will always seek to extend power. And it's important that those who are in the business of telling the story of what's happening there and providing transparency remain resilient. This is the majority opinion. It was written by our former Texas Solicitor General Jim Ho for the majority. It says, quote, "It is not a crime to be a journalist. As the Institute for Justice rightly observed in its brief, the position urged by the City of Laredo in this case is, quote, dangerous to a free society, for it assumes that the government can choose proper and improper channels for news gathering. Indeed, that the government can decide what is and is not newsworthy." This is a case involving the arrest of a citizen journalist by the City of Laredo Police Department. And in a suit in federal court to vindicate her constitutional rights, the city and its officials raised qualified immunity. Fifth Circuit denied qualified immunity and closes with, quote, "The open government is a founding principle of this country." And that's absolutely true. And with that spirit of open government and something that's deeply rooted in our nation, our state's history, I think it makes sense to turn now to the Nancy Monson Spirit of FOI Awards, which is an award that is given in two news market-sized categories, rather, recognizing outstanding journalism that promotes open government and that promotes the public's right to know. The contest is open each year to newspaper, broadcast, and online media in Texas. So I'll start with the Class A category, and that's for news markets with a population of under 500,000 people. And this year's award goes to the Corpus Christi Caller-Times for its coverage. Yes, please. It is being recognized for its coverage of efforts to defund the lauded sea turtle science program at Padre Island National Seashore. So thank you very much. The contest judge praised the Caller-Times for exposing what appeared to be a deliberate step to undermine a program benefiting an endangered species. The judge noted that public officials opting not to talk about important public information is certainly worthy of attention. And thanks to Vicky Camarillo with the Caller-Times for accepting the award. In the Class AA category, there's an honorable mention I want to point out that goes to KXAS of Dallas-Fort Worth for its use of public records in revealing how criminals turned Texas's temporary license plates into a $200 million black market industry. The criminals were aided by a lack of government oversight of the Texas DMV. They're not here today, but let's give them a hand at KXAS. And now I'd like to turn to the winner in the Class AA large market category, and the winner is KXAN in Austin for its work examining the backlog of people found mentally incompetent to stand trial and who are waiting in Texas jails to get treatment at a state hospital. Specific data on these individuals could help reduce the backlog, but KXAN discovered many critical details are not tracked. So KXAN journalists found ways to nail down the information and create a portion of the waitlist database themselves. The awards contest judge said the following: "This is an excellent example of what happens when the state tells you it has no way to track what you're looking for. Build your own database. We're fortunate that someone is watching and that people should be watching. Congratulations to KXAN." Congratulations to all the Spirit of FOI award winners this year and to all the journalists who entered. Your important work using transparency laws holds our government accountable, and may you continue to press forward with it. Now, I'd just like to make a special announcement, and I'd like to welcome to the stage FYFT board member and past president Paul Watler, along with our special guest, Kathy Langer.
Good afternoon. It's my privilege on behalf of the Freedom of Information Foundation to announce today a $5,000 scholarship in memory of our now late and former president of the foundation, Ralph Langer. Ralph was also the longtime editor of the Dallas Morning News. And so this scholarship, which has been generously funded through the Langer family, will go to a journalism student at a Texas university. The first recipient of it will be announced next spring after an application and interview process. And of course, it's named for Ralph. Ralph played a beyond major role at the Dallas Morning News in helping that newspaper achieve preeminence among major metropolitan daily newspapers in the United States in the 1980s and 1990s. Ralph brought home a slew of national journalism awards during his time at the Morning News, including 5 Pulitzer Prizes. Six, thank you, Kathy. 6 Pulitzer Prizes, one of which was for investigative reporting, which is fairly rare for a middle-of-the-country newspaper, if you will, to win the Pulitzer Prize for investigative reporting. It's sort of like, winning Best Picture award at the Academy Awards. So there were very few editors during Ralph's time in the United States at any newspapers that had the kind of trophy cabinet that he had, with all those Pulitzer Prizes, which were really a testament to his commitment over many, many years to producing quality, important journalism. So Ralph was a man and a person of impeccable integrity, but he also dedicated himself to the cause of open government here in Texas. He believed that journalists, in particular, should have meaningful access to public information and official sources of information. As I mentioned, Ralph served, I think, longer than anybody, I know for sure, longer than anybody as president of this foundation. He had really a foundational role in making what our foundation what it is today. He really, more than any one person back from years ago, is responsible for making the FOI Foundation the voice on open government and the First Amendment in Texas. A great source of Ralph's success was Kathy.
Oh, you're right.
On more than a few occasions, I was present when Ralph would introduce Kathy as his trophy wife. And this was after they had been married for decades and I know had grandchildren. But Kathy herself is also someone who has donated countless volunteer hours to our foundation. And she was working in the office, working with Nancy Monson, who was mentioned earlier, working with Ralph, working with the board. She also had a very large hand in making the foundation what it is today. So they were a package deal. And as I mentioned, it's her generosity, her family's generosity, and if I could just take a moment, Kathy, the Langer's daughter, Tammy, is also with us. Tammy, if you would raise your hand, or maybe, there you go. Very glad to have you, Tammy. So, Kathy, if you would give us a few words, and thank you so much for your generosity.
Ralph Langer believed in journalism. He believed in free speech and a free press. He believed a photograph could tell a story as well as a written one. He believed newspapers were the eyes and the ears for the people. He believed in freedom of information. He believed people in the community had a right to know what those who were elected were doing every day, and especially behind closed doors. He believed the Freedom of Information Foundation of Texas and everything it stands for. He believed you all could make a difference. I'm proud to support a scholarship in his name for a student in journalism or photojournalism who also believes.
Thank you, Kathy.